Hello, welcome to Access. I'm Rob. Joining us is Nate.
Hello.
And this is Strange Brigade, which is a 4-player co-op shooter that I was lucky enough to play at E3, and Holly also played with me. And this video is why this game is perfect for 4-player co-op.
It's a real pulp magazine feel to it.
I mean, I love the whole... You probably know more about the type of movie I'm trying to think of than I do, Nate, but it's that old...
It's like a proper matinee adventure.
Yeah, early 20th century... black and white adventure movie in an exotic, faraway land.
The Empire was still a thing, kind of pre-Second World War, maybe pre-First World War.
Yes.
Late Victorian, maybe.
Exactly that. And you've got, the entire time, you've got this really lovely, plummy voiceover. Like having a really pleasant shoutcaster who's not shouting. But why it's perfect for co-op, we've got 4 classes, naturally. Each class has an amulet. You can see it in the middle of the screen there, and when it's full, you can do stuff like that.
So it's like you've already found mystical business.
You found mystical powers, and look, we're attacking mummies here. There's a massive minotaur stomping around. The enemies are really evocative of that kind of era of cinema.
I like this. It's basically a reason. It's a way to do zombies without them just being rotting zombies.
Yeah, and it's not just zombies. There are mummies. There are minotaurs. You'll see some really cool enemies later on. I don't know what they're called.
Is it a lot of it based on this kind of horde, swarming?
Very much so. I mean, it's basically you get through the levels. There's puzzle solving. There's hordes of enemies, but there's loads of interesting ways to take them down as well that work with co-op. There are traps you can shoot. Some of them thrust spikes out the ground. We might see a bit of that later on. Some of them blow jets of fire. Here's a cool little puzzle you have to solve. You've got hieroglyphs on the wall there, and you have to shoot them in a specific order. And I don't think the B-roll here shows it, but these symbols are written across the valley on a cliff, and you have to look at the order they're written on and then shoot them in that same order.
Nice.
And
I like any
opens.
Any puzzle I can solve with shooting.
Yeah,
that's a good puzzle. So it seems like it might be based on the same kind of principle as there's a Vermintide on PlayStation 4, but I guess like the daddy of the genre might be Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
And it seems like that kind of co-op. Everyone's got different skills, trying to help each other out. Lots of frantic stuff going on.
Exactly that. You need to balance your classes. There's your dirigible, by the way. The Strange Brigade's dirigible. And it's also, when you finish a level, you get the nice voiceover saying things like, "Oh, what will happen to the Strange Brigade next week?" Almost like it's an episodic show that you'd watch on a Sunday afternoon at 6 o'clock. It's just really exciting. It's really fun.
Genre-wise, I mean, I'm sold. And we've been talking about how Rebellion are interesting, aren't they? Because they've been making Sniper Elite games and just better and better every time.
Yes.
And it's really good to see them. I mean, they've done a few pulp kind of spin-offs of that, but this is really pulpy, and it just lets them kind of let rip a little bit more.
I mean, the shooting just feels really good as well.
I was going to ask about how, because you actually got to play it and I didn't, so I was going to ask about that.
It's very satisfying. Shooting mummies in the head and watching them explode and then filling up your amulet and destroying them with a special move is really satisfying.
Is it a bit more arcadey than... Because Sniper Elite, one of the big things they did with Sniper Elite 4, which I'm not sure you've had a chance to play, is they did try to improve, when it goes wrong and you basically you've lost your stealth, and they tried to make that a bit more kind of solid and deep. And I'm wondering how this whether this is more arcadey and accessible in terms of shooting.
I'd say so, yeah, but it didn't... I mean, I only played it for 15 minutes and at no point did I feel like, oh, I'm struggling to get the hang of this shooting. It's very pick-up and playable, very easy to get the hang of. Look at these enemies. I love the design of these. Man, it reminds me... Ancient Egyptian zombies.
I mean, there is like a rich seam of this kind of mythological enemy in PlayStation, with Tomb Raider and with Uncharted. Yeah. And it's a really rich thing to return to. I think they look so cool.
So do I. And it's a setting I enjoy being in. I enjoy being in this setting a lot more than I do like a dark, run-down, post-apocalyptic city full of zombies.
There's something wholesome about it, isn't there? I mean, there's a place for zombies, don't get me wrong. But I guess once something has been hammered, as regularly and has become as mainstream as that, it's nice to just have a little crack with something else.
I agree. You might have seen it just then. You can power up as you... keep shooting enemies, and if you don't get hit yourself, you can get a little power up which increases the power of your shots, which in turn allows you to charge up your amulet faster.
Nice.
Which allows you to do, cool things like that. Amulet charged.
Are there, and I see as well, like kind of traps and environmental hazards.
Yes.
They can presumably, like, oh man, perfect timing.
Yes.
And they can hurt you as well?
Absolutely, they do. So you've got to make a couple of times I was standing on one and someone else on my team activated it. It didn't go well. But brilliantly, you resurrect in like a sarcophagus, just pops out the ground and you pop out of it straight away.
Man.
It's really fun.
Do you know, booby traps are just so much like an integral part of this.
Yes.
I mean, probably the first time I and lots of people encountered this kind of genre is like the very beginning of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And that is like full of booby traps.
Yeah, and in video game terms, Tomb Raider, the first kind of time you'd just be walking along and all of a sudden the ground would just come out from beneath you and you'd fall straight onto a spike trap. And so there we go. There's a quick look at why Strange Brigade is the perfect 4-player co-op game. Let us know in the comments what you think of the game if you're looking forward to it, and please do subscribe because we've got absolutely loads more coming up from the world of PlayStation.